And when you say cultivation or cultivating to the average English speaker, and people are saying, oh, that sounds like it's farmers or something, like they're cultivating crops. Hey everybody, Deathblade here with another Chinese fantasy novel FAQ. Sorry about the lighting, I'm using natural light and it is getting towards sunset. My light is fading, so I guess I better get to this video as quickly as possible. I think it actually is going to be a very quick video. The topic is what are cultivation novels? Now I already have a video called What is Cultivation in Chinese Fantasy Novels? And that video, if you want to check it out here, specifically is talking about the actual practice of cultivation, like what is it specifically when characters say, I am going to work on my cultivation or I practice cultivation. What specifically does that mean? What I'm going to be talking about in this video is the genre definition or tag cultivation novel. Before I get started, I would like to say really quickly that this video is sponsored by my original cultivation novel series called The 9 Heavens and 10 Earths. Book 1, The Heretic Peacekeeper, is already available for purchase as of the recording of this video, and Book 2, Secrets of the True Heaven, is on pre-order now, but it will be out on April 15th, and you can check the links in the description below or the pinned comment for that. Okay, so let's get into the topic. What are cultivation novels? For those of you who are subscribers who have watched a lot of my content, you're probably wondering, why would I even need to do a video like this? It seems like a pretty obvious question. Well, I think there's two reasons. Number one is there actually are a lot of people out there who have never even heard of the term. I found this out the hard way. I feel like a dummy for not even thinking about this, but when I was creating some ads for my cultivation novel series, The 9 Heavens and 10 Earths, I ran some ads on Facebook, and not sure if you realize this, but the ads that you run on Facebook are actual Facebook posts that people can comment on. And so I got some comments on the ads I was running, people kind of laughing because I said it was a cultivation novel and I talked about the cultivation world. And people were saying, oh, that sounds like it's farmers or something, like they're cultivating crops. So I have been so wrapped up and so immersed in the Chinese fantasy novel scene for so many years now that it kind of skipped my mind that it is a very niche scene and it's not mainstream, and there are a lot of people out there who have not heard of these terms. And when you say cultivation or cultivating to the average English speaker, they aren't going to immediately jump to the idea of energy cultivation. They're going to be thinking about, corn or something like that. So that's one reason why I want to do this video. And so before getting into the second reason, if you are one of those people out there who has never heard of cultivation novels, basically they are novels in which the main characters practice some type of energy cultivation with the goal of becoming an immortal being, or sometimes even more powerful than that. As I described in that other video I was talking about, it usually involves bringing energy into the body, circulating it in a specific way, and then using that to achieve breakthroughs to higher levels and becoming an incredibly powerful entity. Usually in the novels that most of you are familiar with, the end game is this main character becoming a godlike entity, like creating universes, that kind of thing. A lot of times novels feature a cultivation world, which is sometimes separate from the larger society as a whole, or sometimes it is a delineation between the mortal people who are just kind of living normal lives and then the immortal cultivators, or the people who are seeking the immortality or whatever it is they're hoping to gain by practicing their form of cultivation. Now, another reason why I wanted to make this video is because I have seen more than once, primarily on Twitter, I could be in comments on YouTube though, where people are questioning why there is even a need for the term cultivation novel. Some people I have seen criticizing it, saying, well, xianxia is cultivation. Why do you need to make up another word for the genre when xianxia is cultivation? Well, the reason is because although I would say it's fair to say that all xianxia novels are cultivation novels, not all cultivation novels are xianxia. The best example is the genre xuanhuan, and I talked about that in the very first video I ever did on this channel in this series. Now, xuanhuan and xianxia are very similar, and in fact they're so similar that the line between them is kind of gray, and you'll see the descriptors sometimes use both of them on the same novel. That's even on the Chinese sites. I have seen the parent sites where these novels are originally published. I have seen certain novels which are very clearly xianxia labeled as xuanhuan, and sometimes it can be confusing trying to decide, well, is this novel xuanhuan or is this xianxia, or maybe it's a little bit of both. If you want to kind of make a very high level delineation between the two, the difference is that xianxia is essentially more purely Chinese, I think, more Chinese mythology and religion and philosophy driving the world building and the plot and the character names and whatnot, whereas Xianhuan tends to be a little bit more Western and have Western influences. The difference can be blended sometimes. I think a good example on the Xianhuan side is Coiling Dragon. So Coiling Dragon, which is available on Amazon as a licensed Xianhuan series. One of the criticisms that I saw over and over again that just made me laugh, whether it's on Amazon reviews or even back when the translation was first being actively translated, people would complain, why did the translator have to change the names to be Western? Aren't they Chinese? No, they're not Chinese. The author used Western names because Coiling Dragon is not a Xianxia novel where it's supposed to take place in a setting analogous to ancient China. It is actually not like that. And so that's a good example of a Xianhuan novel where it has elements of Xianxia, but maybe it's a little bit different. So Xianhuan novels, a lot of them are going to be cultivation novels. They have the same sort of like leveling system, different realms of cultivation, characters progressing through those levels as they practice some sort of internal energy cultivation or even some kind of external physical body cultivation. Obviously, just on the Chinese side, when the two main genres, there's a difference between Xianxia and Xianhuan, yet they both are about cultivation. And so that's one reason why I think cultivation novel is a good descriptor, because it does blanket in a lot of different types of fiction. Of course, that's just talking about the Chinese side. There's also the Western side, and you know, ever since these genres have started to become popular in the past several years in the West, obviously Western authors are starting to take those concepts and run with them. I guess I am one of them with my new series. I'm coming to the game a little bit late. There are some authors out there who have already been churning out their own cultivation novels. I've seen a few different words thrown around by the authors and the readers trying to describe these original works in English. I think there tends to be a problem when the authors try to specifically say this is wuxia, this is xianxia. I have a video about that you can check out here. It's very difficult, in my opinion, for a Western author to write a truly authentic xianxia novel. Wuxia is a little bit easier because it's been around for longer and it's a little bit more related to reality. But both of them have cultural aspects that make it really hard for Westerners to do. So when I go onto Amazon and I see some book that the subtitle says a wuxia epic or a xianxia novel, I'm very skeptical if it's a Western author. I'm not saying Western authors can't do it. I'm just saying it's really hard. And in fact, my own series that I'm writing, I did not feel comfortable labeling it as xianxia. Because it's just, xianxia is a very specific thing, and of course mine is actually a fusion of xianxia style cultivation with a cyberpunk setting, so even more so it's not appropriate to call it xianxia. If I was going to write a purely xianxia style novel, like it takes place in a fictional world analogous to ancient China and it has a cultivation system that has all the common things like a core and a nascent soul and different things like that, I still would be hesitant to bill it as xianxia just because there are so many things that need to be done right and so many things that can be done wrong. There are two terms that I have seen used to describe the works of Western authors that I think are particularly appropriate or relevant. One of them is just Western cultivation. So I think that's a great option, and that's why I'm a fan of the term cultivation novel, because it could encompass Western cultivation very easily. And although I haven't seen this term defined anywhere specific or by any sort of person with authority, I'd basically take it to mean novels in the style of Chinese xianxia and Xianhua novels, but written by Western authors with Western audiences in mind. One of the big things that's hard about xianxia and Xianhua novels is that there are Chinese cultural elements which can be difficult or jarring. So a lot of the Western authors kind of take those parts out, mix it with Western writing style, but take the aspects of the magic systems and some of the common genre tropes and they make it their own. And I think calling that stuff Western cultivation is definitely great. Another term that I've seen is progression fantasy. I've seen that being thrown around a lot, and that's another good one. I think it was coined by Will White, but I could be mistaken about that. If anybody out there knows the origin of the term progression fantasy, like who actually coined it and started using it, please do let me know in the comments below. I was under the impression it was Will White. But in any case, I think that's another good genre description for these novels that emulate the Chinese fantasy xianxia and Xianhua novels, where the characters are practicing some kind of internal energy cultivation with the goal of becoming super powerful and progressing through the levels. That's kind of what those novels are typically about. People like to read them to see the characters level up, have the breakthroughs, become stronger, fight the bad guys and whatnot. So that's all I have to say on the subject. I'm curious what you have to say. If you are a fan of the novels, what do you think about all these different terms, xianxia, xianhua, and Western cultivation, progression fantasy, and just the term cultivation novel? If you're new to the channel or new to these kind of books, what do you think about them? What drew you to them? What confused you, especially when it comes to the descriptions of the novels? My channel here is about making these concepts easier for people to understand, especially when they're first getting into it. If you like this kind of content, please do like and subscribe, and of course share the video somewhere where you think it might be beneficial, whether it's to a person or to a Facebook group or to a chat group or wherever it is. Let people know if you have friends who you're trying to get them into these kind of novels. Maybe this video could help them to kind of understand what it is that you're into and what it is that they might be getting into if they decide to go down this path of reading Cultivation novels. So again, like, subscribe, share, and check out the links to the 9 Heavens and 10 Earths, my original cyberpunk Cultivation novel. That's it for this video. I'll see you next time. Godsala.